Hello everybody, welcome back to the GL Media YouTube channel. I've got quite a special episode prepared for you today. I hope anyway if it goes up, if I can get enough footage together. Been offered the opportunity to go into the press box at Newcastle United for today's Premier League game between Newcastle United and Burnley. For me, I think this is a great opportunity. You can see the stadium just behind me there. It's a great opportunity, get to see how the media works at a Premier League club. Obviously that's what I'm doing as my course at university. What I've been trying to do on this channel is get some media work out there and see how I can develop it. But yeah, this is definitely for me the biggest opportunity I've had so far. Can't wait for it. It's a massive game for Newcastle. Recently they've been a little bit inconsistent in all competitions, going back as far as November, late November, when they lost to Marseille in a game that really they should have won. They were the better team in the first half. A costly mistake right at the start of the second half, and that 5-minute period really cost them. They never really got back in the game, and that was a massive detriment to their start of the Champions League. Obviously they lost to Barcelona, but the 3 wins after that were really good, really impressive, all obviously at home, and I think they were really trying to kick on in that away game. However, they did make up for it against Everton in the Premier League. They beat them 4-1, and that was a great result. Really showed intent, ended Newcastle's away winless run in the Premier League, which was dating all the way back to, I think, towards the end of last season, maybe March, April time. So a really positive result there. And then midweek against Tottenham, again, falling back into their old habits, throwing the game away late on after performing really well again in the first half. Didn't really get the goals to show for it. The goal came later than probably expected through Bruno Guimaraes. And obviously the equaliser from Romero was again a detriment to them, but they fought back. They got the penalty through Gordon, and then again a late corner conceded from Christian Romero. He got a double on that day. So for me, it's got to be a win today for Newcastle. Burnley, probably worth more points than they've got on the table. I've said all the way through this season that I think Burnley are really performing quite well. They lack that quality in the final ball, the final action of the game though, to convert the chances that they're creating. So obviously that's a big loss for them. They need to try and fix that up coming into this game. They can play with a lot of confidence. They've got no fear, probably away from home coming here. After Newcastle's result against Tottenham, maybe they think that Newcastle's here for the taking. So Scott Parker obviously used to play for Newcastle. Definitely a big game for his side, just as much as it is for Newcastle's side. Eddie Howe would be desperate to get a win on the board ahead of a really crucial week when you talk about Leverkusen in the Champions League in the midweek, and then obviously the Derby game next Sunday as well. And touching on that, Sunderland at the minute playing really well. They're up to 6th in the table, could be higher by the time that this video goes out. I know they've got a difficult away trip to Manchester City at the same time, 3 o'clock kickoff as the Newcastle Burnley game. So trying to keep up to date with all the scores whilst I'm in there. But for me, the Derby game, probably at the start of the season, Newcastle would have been looking at that. They would have been fancying Sunderland coming up from the Championship as a newly promoted side. We've been playing relatively well last season. I think we started the season all right. There was some difficult results and then we played some difficult teams. But now you're looking at the Derby game, you're thinking Sunderland are playing so well that they're performing at a really, really high level. They've got no fear. They don't seem to fear anybody. I watched them in the midweek against Liverpool at Anfield, and definitely the better side for a large proportion of that game. Liverpool looked sloppy, they looked slow, and Sunderland were just taking advantage, and they got a great goal through Talby. Yeah, took a little deflection, but that's the luck that they need at the start of the season. I wouldn't call it luck. I would say they've created enough chances to win the games that they have done, to pick up the number of points that they have done, and on merit that's where they sit in 6th place. And Newcastle, sitting a little bit further down the table, would ideally like to climb their way up, or would have liked to climb their way up before this Derby game coming up next Sunday. They have a chance to do that with 3 points today against Burnley, and that's why for me it's an absolutely massive game. So as I say, the stadium's just in front of me now, just walking up there, just going to try and get myself set up, ready for the game. I will try and get as much footage as I can when I'm in the ground. I don't know obviously in regards to the facilities what I am and not allowed to do. But yeah, I'm just going to try and make a little vlog for you today, just to see from a perspective what it's going to be like, and yeah, I'm going to try and make the most of it, soak it all up, and hopefully you enjoy it. Put a little bit of context into this game today. So Burnley currently sits second bottom. The only team below them is Wolves, who are still winless at this point of the season. Burnley will be desperate to get a win today, as I've already mentioned. They are wanting to stay up in the league. I think their performances so far this season, certainly in some of the games, have merited more points than what they've got on the board. They deserve to have more points than what they've got on the board. So for me, they're desperate to come and get a win. In regards to the table, obviously West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Leeds, all above them had picked up points in the midweek. Burnley unfortunately lost to Crystal Palace 1-0 through Daniel Munoz's goal. So for me, it's all about Burnley trying to convert the chances that they create, because they did have plenty of chances in that game. And yeah, it's all about conversion for them. We know that they lack a little bit of quality in the final third, as you would expect probably with a newly promoted side. I thought they made good signings in the summer. We just haven't quite seen that transform into full flow yet, but there's still plenty of games left to go in the season. I know Scott Parker said in his pre-match press conference that there's still 25 games to go in the season. There's plenty of time for Burnley to turn it round. And as for Newcastle, they currently sit in 12th place. A win, depending on other results, could see them move as high as 7th today. So that is not a position that Newcastle will want to be in come the end of the season. I don't imagine. I think they want to be pushing for the Champions League spaces. With it, coefficients could be potentially dropping down to 5th spot again, as it did last season. That's how Newcastle qualified. So I think that's got to be the aim for them. But that can only come with that consistency that we've seen from them towards the end of last season. And that can start with a win today against Burnley. They'll fancy the chances. They're at home, expecting a good atmosphere and a good crowd. So yeah, I think 3 points could be on the board. And what you've got to offer with that is you've got to have a look at the squad rotation, because like we say, it's got a big week coming up with Leverkusen and with Sunderland on the Sunday. So how does he manage his squad? He's obviously rotated it against Tottenham on Wednesday, and then maybe that allows for more rotation again today. So we'll have to see. He's been changing between the 3 at the back and going with the 4 at the back. I didn't think necessarily the 3 at the back worked when he tried it. Not as good as the 4 at the back. I think when we know Eddie Howe's system, we know he likes the 4 at the back, the 3 in midfield, which always was Tonali, Bruno and Joe Linton. I like that Lewis Miley's had more opportunities in the recent weeks. I don't know if he's going to be starting today, but I think he adds a little bit of composure into that midfield as well. And then obviously what you've got with the front 3 is you've got Harvey Barnes, who's been on great goal scoring form. Anthony Gordon's now coming back into the frame as well. I thought he had a positive cameo against Spurs. He obviously scored the penalty as well, which I was a bit surprised that Walton didn't take that. But look, Gordon converted it, done really well. We know his penalty record's not been fantastic for Newcastle, but he scored that one. So yeah, maybe Gordon's back in contention. And obviously on the right hand side, you've got Anthony Elanga and Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy, we know, was key last season in regards to linking up with Alexander Isak. Now there's no Alexander Isak there, but he's still providing the same output for Nick Walter-Mada. And then you've got Anthony Elanga, who was a big summer signing for Newcastle. A lot of optimism about him kicking on right from the off at Newcastle, and we just haven't quite seen that from him yet. He's had positive games, don't get me wrong, especially some in the Champions League that spring to mind. But we need to see that converting into the Premier League as well. We need to see that consistency across the board from the team. Obviously, in regards to injury news, we know that Botman is going to be out. He's had an injection in his back, so we know that he's not going to be available. I don't think even for next week's game against Sunderland. Kraft, Trippier being out puts a lot of strain on Livramento to have to play right back. We know he's only just come back. Lewis Hall's only just come back. So there will be fatigue setting in with the team. How does Eddie Howe manage that? That's got to be the big question for me. How does he get around that, and how does he manage this big week coming up? We've got Burnley today on the Saturday, we've got Leverkusen on the Wednesday, and then we've got Sunderland on the Sunday. And for me, this could be a season-defining week in regards to Newcastle United. If we can get results in all 3 games, that would be fantastic. And I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. We've got to look on the positive side. We've got to look on the up. And yeah, we've got to hope that we can get positive results in each of them games. I also want to touch on David Hopkinson, Newcastle new CEO. I wanted to touch on his comments in the recent week about the plan 2030, and Newcastle want to be one of the biggest clubs in the world in the next 4 or 5 years. I just want to know everyone's thoughts on that. I mean, it's an ambitious plan. I think Eddie Howe admitted it was an ambitious plan. Everyone likes the ambition. It's just whether it's sustainable, whether we can actually push on and do that. We know in the season since we've been taken over, we've been a little bit inconsistent, I would say. we know in the seasons since we've taken over, we've had success. We've won a trophy. We've qualified for the Champions League. I think the main stumbling block is growing the brand of Newcastle, and I think that's obviously going to be a main focus for the Newcastle board to work on. And also the other thing is with the stadium as well. We don't really know with the stadium plan what's going to happen with it. You can see again behind me there. It's a fantastic stadium. It's one of the old stadiums, a classic stadium in the Premier League is St James's Park. I think everyone enjoys coming. The atmosphere at St James's, it sticks when you're inside, a bit like Goodison Park did. I mean, Hill Dickinson Stadium's lovely as well, the new one that Everton's built, as is Tottenham's. Tottenham moved to the new stadium as well. White Hart Lane was a classic stadium. But yeah, I think you can build a good modern stadium, but it does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of structure, a lot of planning. And I think with Newcastle, the 4 to 5 year, it doesn't give you a lot of time to plan and to put together what you need to do to get the proper stadium. But yeah, I just want to know your thoughts on the ambition of David Hopkinson and the comments that he made about Newcastle wanting to be one of the biggest clubs in the world. I think don't get us wrong, I would love to see it happen. I just don't know if it can happen in 4 or 5 years. I think ultimately what you've got is you've got too many big clubs all trying to compete for the same thing, and it would take a lot for Newcastle to have to bridge that gap financially, structurally. There's a lot of things that need to happen in place before we can get to that point, before we can start discussing whether we're one of the biggest clubs especially in the world. I think that was comment was in the world. It wasn't just in England. I think already Newcastle in England are typically one of the bigger clubs, along with Aston Villa, Everton. Obviously you've got Manchester City, Tottenham, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, all at the top by themselves. But yeah, I think bridging that gap to the top clubs in the world is a massive step, and if they can pull it off, it would be fantastic. 4 to 5 years, not a long time frame, as I said. Can they do it?
First goal of the game ensues with Newcastle. The scorer, number 39, Bruno!
Final decision, it's a penalty kick. Newcastle 41 deliberately handles the ball. Tonight, a promising attack. Our final decision is penalty kick and yellow card.
Right, everyone made it back after that unbelievable game. Had a little bit of everything, I thought. 2 penalties, one for each team, direct corner goal, red card. It was just a bit of a mad game. Stayed back for both press conferences from both managers. I thought they spoke well. They were both honest with teams' performances and obviously what they thought of the game. Scott Parker said obviously he was impressed with his Burnley side's performance, and maybe thought they were a little bit unlucky, which I think I would agree in parts with. I thought the first 25-30 minutes, Burnley were fantastic. They were really playing in some good positions, that a lot of the ball, created a lot of chances, some of which they definitely should have taken. They were a threat from set pieces throughout the game. And yeah, I think unfortunately for them, they didn't take any of them opportunities right at the beginning of the game when they were really on top. And that allowed Newcastle to grow into the game. And that goal from Bruno Guimaraes, direct corner, I thought it must have taken a touch from someone the way it went in, but it was a fantastic goal from him. One that we'll probably not see too often being scored this season in the league. So that was really the catalyst to start the game for Newcastle. And for me, Bruno was 100% man of the match. I think he just bossed it in the middle. And with the lineup, I think in regards to Eddie Howe, he went with quite an advanced midfield, really attack-minded midfield. So yeah, for me, Willock and Ramsey in there, you needed Bruno to hold it all together, and that's exactly what he did. Exactly like he did against Spurs. He scored the first goal. This time Newcastle pushed on. They got the penalty right at the end of the first half as well. Not too sure what the Burnley player was thinking, but he basically punched the ball away. And yeah, I think when the referee went in the monitor, he really couldn't go against it. So definitely a penalty for me. And likewise for the Burnley penalty as well. Jacob Ramsey doesn't need to be putting his arm out like that. It was a definite penalty for Burnley. And in the end, I think they deserved the goal based on the overall performance. They deserved to get at least one goal, and arguably even more, maybe even more out of the game. They had a massive chance towards the end of the game, which was headed wide. So yeah, that'll be a disappointment for Scott Parker. It's sort of the same story for Burnley as it's been for a lot of games this season, a lack of conversion, a lack of putting the chances away, and it's cost them a point, maybe even 3 points today away at Newcastle, which coming this game they may have seen an opportunity, like I say, to pounce on Newcastle with their inconsistencies, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. And as for Newcastle, we know they had to rotate their squad. I don't think it was a perfect performance from them, especially towards the end. Again, things started creeping in, a little bit nerves around the ground, and yeah, you could definitely feel it within the players. But in regards to the actual starting 11, I think it was great to see some players come back in and starting to really play well. I thought Anthony Gordon was really good today. Bruno, as I said, my man the match personally over the 90 minutes. I thought Alanga had a good game, one of his better games in a Newcastle shirt. I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but I think he was showing signs of improvement in this game, and that's all we can ask from, really. Yeah, I think in regards to the defence as well, it would have been nice for them to hold on and keep a clean sheet. Obviously that didn't happen in the end, but yeah, I think we know how key the wingers are in Eddie Howe's system, and to see Gordon and Alanga pushing the likes of Barnes and Murphy, who have both been on good form themselves as well, pushing them for the starting spots. That's what we need to see more in the squad, is players competing for their positions. But overall, it was a good result anyway for Newcastle, and an absolute great experience to go into the press box and watch the game from that point of view. It's just a mad moment, really, and listening to both the press conferences as well, listening to the managers speak. Like I say, I thought they were both honest. They were both assessing their teams well. Eddie Howe said that there's still improvements to be made ahead of a big week. Obviously, we know we've got Leverkusen in the midweek, and then it's the Sunderland game on the Sunday. So it's a crucial time for Newcastle, definitely. And in regards to Burnley, I think their time will come. It's just going to be about moments for them. They need to get that one result that might kickstart their survival push in this season. They don't want to be getting cut adrift too much from the teams that are above them. As I said in the midweek, them teams had picked up points elsewhere, so it can get away from you quickly. And the more that you start dropping points, the easier it is, to get cut adrift from them, and before you know it, you're looking up the table, and it's just too many points really to recover from as the games get less as well. So Burnley's all about moments. I thought they showed signs today when I've watched them. I think there's more than enough quality within that squad. Maybe it's a confidence with them. They're not picking up results at the minute, and it's just going to take that one result to change the mentality within that squad. But yeah, definitely with Newcastle, they got 3 points. They weren't at their best. It's a sign of a team that you know, can grind out results when they're not performing well. Maybe that's what they need in this coming week. They need to try and get something from Leverkusen in the Champions League to cement their place, at least in the playoff round. And if they want to make that push to the top 8, it seems, you know, unlikely after the Marseille result, but stranger things have happened. And then you've got the big one on Sunday as well, where, you know, bragging rights are at stake for that, and both sides are going to be desperate to win that. They're going to be well up for it. First Premier League derby since 2016. We know what happened in the FA Cup, but the Sunderland side's a completely different side to that. So, you know, Newcastle can't go into that game preparing for a similar type of outcome, because I think it will be a lot more difficult test, and yeah, it really will test Newcastle's true strength and true colours as well. So we'll have to see how both of them games go. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked it. It's something different. Obviously it won't be a regular thing. It was just one time we got invited down, so I thought I'd try and capture as much as I can for you. So hope I've done a good job of it. If you did like this video, please do feel free to like the video and also subscribe to the channel as well. And yeah, without further ado, I'll catch you in a bit.